Hey, what's up, guys, and welcome to another tutorial. My name is Eric Morales from Eric Morales Photography here in Melbourne, Florida. And here I am to show you some quick tips on how you could improve your workflow by doing some simple tricks onto your photography. Now, here's an image that I took at a workshop down in Orlando at Studio One in International Drive, and the workshop was ran by Ed's the artist. That's EDZ the artist. So you could find him on Facebook. He's a great guy, an awesome retoucher, awesome photographer, and he taught us a few things at this workshop, and now I want to share some of this stuff with you. And practically, here's our image, and it's open on Camera Raw. And what we're gonna do, first things, we're always gonna try to do the best we can in Camera Raw before even bringing it into Photoshop. And if you look at the image, there's a few things that could be enhanced right in here, so then you don't have to worry about it in Photoshop. And the first thing that I noticed is that my white balance was way off. I didn't have time to do the proper white balance for my camera since it was a workshop. And what we are going to do, we're just going to lower the temperature, or you could play around with some of the presets already here in white balance presets. You could, try it, see what you get. I think that one works okay. And now that was about the same. No, too red, toxin, fluorescent. No, horrible. That's horrible. Okay, so I'll say between flash and daylight is up to your liking. I'm gonna stick with the preset white balance flash, or you could always just go back, leave it as it is, and just grab your white balance tool and try to find that gray spot somewhere and then just click. But I'm not gonna do that right now because I gotta move on with this tutorial. So we're gonna get up from custom. We're gonna put it onto flash, which gives me about the. Because remember, white balance is most likely the temperature on the image, and sometimes you get a little magenta, or if you want, just reduce the magenta right here a little bit. I'll say about there looks good. Okay, so what we're gonna do, we got some blacks here, so we are going to reduce some of this black right about there. Looks good. We got the clarity, just lower your saturation just a bit. I said about maybe there. Everything else looks good. Highlights, you see nothing is clipping. It's looking good. Always make sure that you got your lens profile correction enabled, and the custom presets for the color, we're gonna have it on camera neutral. Like that, you get all the neutral colors and nothing, no color shifts will be shifted. And what we're going to do, we are going to open this image. Now the technique I'm going to show you today is pretty simple and pretty basic, and it actually helps with those very, very grating shadows that we get sometimes in the pictures. And you know how you get the transition between darks and highlights, and sometimes you try to smooth it out and you use whatever tool to try to fix that, and sometimes you still don't get the same results because you still get this color shifts right in between. So I'm going to show you a pretty quick technique on how to do that more accurate, more precisely. And because it's going to be on a separate layer, and we're going to mask it out, and then we'll just control the opacity of the brush to blend it in, and then we can take it from there. So now we got the image. First thing we're going to do, duplicate this layer. Once Photoshop decides to get unfrozen. There we go. Duplicate this layer by just dragging it down here to this little icon, or Control J, or go to Image and Duplicate Layer. And what we are going to do, we are going to use something called the inverted high pass, or so they call it. And what we're going to do, we're going to zoom in here so I can show you about the transitions in here. Now you see this hard shadow right here. Sometimes you try to smooth that out, and here, and maybe a little bit here. So with this technique, you'll be able to soften that out a little bit more without messing up the highlight or the shadow. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to go to Filter, High Pass. And what we are going to do, we're going to bring this up until the actual shadows become visible. So I'll say right about there, you can see the shadow and the highlight. Shadows and highlight, that's still looking good right there. You see here and here, and this part right here. So we're gonna round it up by 30, and then you're gonna press OK. Now with this technique, most people like to do the values that could be divided by 3. So we just did the high pass filter at 30, so we're going to do the Gaussian blur at 1/3 of that value, 30. So 30 divided by 3 is actually 10. And now we're going to invert this image. So Control I. And then what we are going to do, we're just going to change the blend mode to linear light. Now if you look at the shadows, you see how smooth it actually looks now. The transition, the hard shadows that we had before here had disappeared. Same thing with here. Maybe this one here is a little bit too hard because it's too close to the edge. But because we're actually going to max this out, we're just gonna press Alt and click on the mask, and it's gonna hide that. And now what we're gonna do, we're gonna grab the brush with white. We're going to lower the opacity, maybe 40, 30, 40. And now you can see that shadow there. We're gonna make this a little bigger. Make sure you got a soft brush, no hardness whatsoever. And we're just going to start painting right in the middle of the shadow and the highlight. Just to smooth that out right there. Now you see how it disappears, that hard line that you got right there between the shadow and the highlight. Now it's practically, this is like fading in the shadow and the highlight. And I think this is a very sweet trick and technique, and also it brightens up the shadows a little bit. See that clean transition right here, maybe here, maybe a little bit here. And we got the shadow right here. That's practically what we're doing. We're just fading in the shadow and the highlight, blending it together, making the blending more, or the transition between the shadow and highlight, more soft. Now you're not going to do this to the whole image. It's just to fix some of these little issues here in between the shadows and the highlights. That's what we're going to be concentrating on. It's just the shadow and the highlight. You see this transition right here? Maybe there. Maybe a little bit here and here. Now you got to be careful when you're doing this, because it will turn the highlight darker and it will brighten up the shadow even more when you're doing this. That's why we got to do it with a very, very soft brush. And the opacity about 40, 30. It all depends. You see this transition right here? We're just going to smooth that out right there. Maybe here. So now here's our before, here is our after. Before and after. That's a pretty sweet trick, huh? Okay, so that's the first trick I wanted to show you. Now what I'm gonna do, we're going to create a stamp of what we already done in progress. So if you're happy with your results, go ahead and press Control Shift Alt E to make a stamp of whatever you already done before. And I'm not gonna be doing any cleanup work or anything like that. I just wanted to show you this quick tricks, just so you could see and how precise this thing is. And another thing that I've been having problems with is the highlights. I've been trying to find a way on how to reduce the luminosity of these highlights, just to make them a little darker, because if you could see, the rest of the picture looks good, but then we got like a hot spot here, and the nose here, and this area right here. So I came across a tutorial from Chris Orwig where he actually uses the same image to reduce some luminance and these highlights by using the same image. And it's a pretty cool trick. And what we're going to do, we're going to duplicate this layer, and we are going to lower the opacity about 40%. Then we're going to grab the patch tool. Now you got to be very careful when you're using this, but this trick is very, very nice, and I'm glad I came across this tutorial. I actually found it at lynda.com. And you're just going to choose the area of the highlight, and what you're going to do, you're just going to drag to the closest thing. You see how I kind of suppress that highlight? So here's the before and here's the after. And we're going to do the same thing with the spot back here, up here. And you're just going to drag. Maybe, you could do it once, twice, depends on how much luminosity you're trying to reduce. So I'll say right about there looks good. And maybe this spot right here. This one ain't so big, so right there and there. And what I like about this, it really doesn't mess up your texture. The texture is there. And the original image is right here, right down below. So we're going to deselect that for now, and I just want to show you. Here's the before, here's the after, before and after. Now we're going to do the same thing here on the cheek. Just pull down here, and maybe this area here. And I'll say right about there, you have reduced the luminance of this highlight right here, and you're still keeping texture. See that? That's looking pretty good right there. So what do you guys think about these techniques, huh? Pretty sweet, huh? Well, this is some tips and tricks that I just wanted to show you real quick, just so you could actually work in this thing, so you can incorporate it to your workflow. Trying to make things easier for you guys and easier myself. I mean, I'm not a professional photographer, I'm not a professional retoucher, but when I find tutorials like this, and a lot of people don't see these tutorials or they can't find this tutorial. So I have come across them and I just wanted to share some of these techniques. But most of my resources are pretty simple. Everybody knows them. It's either lynda.com or Kelby Training or AMPP, you know, National Association of Photoshop, and all those kind of places actually helps. You know, they're trying to sell something, but at the same time, they got a lot of these freebies that you can actually just use and incorporate to your workflow. And I think it's a great things. Well, so this concludes this tutorial. I just want to share this with you guys real quick. I hope you enjoy, and I hope this actually helps to your workflow. So until next time, have a great day. And please drop me a line on my Facebook, facebook.com/Eric Morales Photography, and please subscribe. All right? Have a great day.